Welcome to Environment and Safety Management Institute Professional Training. We are going to look at roles and responsibilities of environmental safety management. Now, let's start with what I refer to as shared responsibilities. When we are talking about shared responsibilities in environmental health and environmental safety management, effective environmental safety programs recognize that everyone shares a responsibility. Everyone. Now, if you want to maintain a safe, a healthy, and environmentally responsible work environment, it is important that everybody in the environment has what? A responsibility to play. And that is why we call it a shared responsibility. While there will be specific duties that vary by role, all the organizational staff in that organization or all the members of the organization contribute to performing environmental and safety functions. So the first thing we all have to agree, or we all have to understand, or we all have to bear with is that environmental safety management is a shared responsibility. Everybody has a role to play. Now, let's begin to look at specific responsibilities. We have the senior management responsibility. When we talk about the senior management, who are the senior management? The senior management are those staff of the organization that have higher roles to play in the organization. They are the senior staff. One, their responsibilities include policy and strategic direction. Policy and what? Strategic direction. They establish the environmental safety vision for the organization. They are the ones that establish the vision for the organization. They are the ones that establish the values of the organization. They are the ones that have the strategic objectives of the organization. They align these objectives with the business goals. They approve the policies and ensure that these policies reflect the organizational priorities. So that is their first role. Policy and strategic direction. Another role or responsibility that is being carried out by senior management is resource allocation. They provide the adequate financial, human, technical, and other resources that are needed to implement the environmental safety programs. For these programs to be effectively implemented, they need resources, and these resources are financial, they are human, and they are technical resources. So the people who give these resources, who allocate these resources, are the senior management. They are the ones that approve the budget for the safety equipment. They are the ones that approve the budget for the training. They are the ones that approve the budget for facility improvement. They are the ones that approve the budget for staffing. And this type of responsibility to enhance effective environmental safety management is called resource allocation. Another responsibility that the senior management play is what we call organizational structure. Organizational structure. They create that reporting relationship that gives environmental safety appropriate authority and access to decision makers. The environmental safety managers or the environmental safety practitioners must have that structure that is already put in place for them to be able to effectively assess the decision makers. They are the ones that establish a clear accountability for the environmental safety practitioners to perform at all the management levels. That is the reason why if you go to countries that take environmental safety very, very important, environmental safety is also a cadre in the profession. Just as you have accountants, you have human resource managers, you have project managers, there are environmental safety managers. It is a cadre. So somebody grows along the line. You come in, if you are starting the career at grade level 8, you move into 9, 10, you move like that as a cadre in the profession. So this is what is a role or a responsibility of what? Senior management. And then another responsibility of the senior management that they perform oversight function. They perform oversight functions. Now, what are these oversight performance? They review the environmental safety metrics regularly. They hold the managers accountable for the results, and they ensure that there is continuous improvement. This is very, very important, because when you review the metrics, you hold the managers accountable for the result, and you ensure continuous improvement, it will lead to management review. It will lead to what? Management review of the environmental safety performance, and also audit. And it is from this audit that you will understand that, okay, this area we were supposed to do like this, but we couldn't do it. This is how we are going to improve. And another responsibility is visible leadership. The leadership must demonstrate that it has a personal commitment through facility visits, safety observations, incident response involvement, and communicating, emphasizing the importance of environmental safety in the organization. And then another duty or responsibility or role that is being played by senior management is legal compliance. Legal compliance. They ensure that the organization meets all the applicable legal and regulatory requirements. This is done by understanding that the leadership bear that personal liability for serious violations. Because once there is violation, it is what? The leadership that is what? Is going to bear it. After the senior management, you have the middle management and the supervisory responsibilities. Okay? So at this middle management, department managers, frontline supervisors play critical roles in trying to translate these organizational policies into daily practice. Okay? Those frontline supervisors, those departmental managers, they are the ones that will play this role to ensure that there is a continuous or daily practice that will enhance environmental safety. What is the first thing they do? Implementation. To execute these environmental safety programs within their areas of responsibility, they ensure that procedures are followed, controls function properly. Once there is need for a control, that control does what? Functions. And then the resources that have been allocated by senior management are utilized effectively. Apart from implementation, another one is supervision. They monitor the workers' compliance with safety requirements. They correct all the unsafe acts and the unsafe behaviors. They ensure that there is proper use of equipment and the protective gear that is supposed to be used within the environment. They also ensure that there is communication, because they are the ones that conduct the safety meetings. They are the ones that make sure that they provide the work instructions, and then they also serve as the primary point of contact wherever there is an environmental safety issue or an environmental safety concern. Then the issue of hazard management. This is also a responsibility of the middle management officer. They identify the hazards in the workplace, and when they identify these hazards in the workplace, they implement the controls that needs to take care of these hazards. And after implementing the controls, they also ensure that the risk assessment is properly done. And where there's need for change, a change is put in place. Another responsibility or role which is also very important is training coordination. They ensure that the employees receive required training. This may be competence training, it may be refresher training, it may be induction training, or any training that is necessary for them or get acquainted with so as to carry out their job effectively. Then they are also responsible for emergency response. Emergency response. Leading emergency responses within their areas, they ensure that the employees know things like the evacuation routes, the evacuation procedures, the account for the personnel that's supposed to be in the organization during emergencies, things like incident response. These are responsibilities of the middle level officers. They investigate the incidents that happen. They implement the corrective measures. They ensure that lessons are learned, and those lessons that are learned are communicated and applied appropriately. Then they also monitor. Okay? They conduct the workplace inspections. They track the leading and lagging indicators that are in the work environment and report the environmental safety performance to the senior management. So these are the roles that the middle management officers do. The next people that we also need to talk about them are the environmental safety practitioners or professionals like you and I. What is their responsibility? Dedicated environmental safety staff provide specialized expertise. Okay? They provide specialized expertise that support organizational programs. These specialized expertise include things like program development. They design the environmental safety management systems, the environmental safety policies, the environmental safety procedures and programs that are aligned with those regulatory requirements and best practices. That is a responsibility of the professionals. You don't expect another person to come and start preparing the environmental safety policies. So all those programs, they are being developed by the environmental safety practitioners. They are the ones that also give technical expertise. Technical expertise in the sense that they provide specialized knowledge on hazard recognition, risk assessment, control technologies, monitoring techniques, and regulatory compliance. So as an expert, as a professional, as an environmental safety professional in the work environment, you are there to provide technical expertise. Apart from that, they do the training delivery. They develop and deliver the environmental safety training programs. This will ensure that the employees possess the required knowledge and skills that will help them to manage the environmental aspect of their organizations, the safety issues that arise from the environment. Another thing is compliance management. They track regulatory requirements, they conduct compliance assessment, they maintain the required record and manage the permit programs that are supposed to exist in the organization. Audit and assessment. It is the work or the responsibility of the environmental safety professionals in the organization to do what? To carry out audit and assessment, conduct systematic audit and inspections so that they'll be able to identify the program gaps that exist and the improvement opportunities that are needed in the organization. Now, another role or responsibility that's being carried out by the environmental safety practitioners is incident investigation. Incident what? Investigation. It is the responsibility of the environmental safety practitioners to lead investigation of significant incidents so that they will be able to identify the root causes of those incidents and then recommend corrective actions to the management. And also another responsibility is consultation. They advise management and the employees on environmental safety matters. They review the operational changes for environmental safety implications, and they participate in the various projects that are being planned for the organization. Because by participating in the project planning, they'll be able to know the gaps that are needed to ensure effective environmental management. And then, of course, another thing they do is what? Is performance analysis. Performance analysis. You know, when you analyze environmental safety data, you are able to identify the trends, you know, the benchmarking performances, reporting results to management. These things help you to understand better how the issues of safety management in that organization is being done. And then, of course, continuous improvement, okay? Continuous improvement. Staying current with evolving regulations, you know, emerging hazards and industry best practices, recommending program enhancement and all that. It is the responsibility of the world, of the environmental safety professionals, okay? Because it is their responsibility to look at these issues of continuous improvement, continuous enhancing of the workers' performance in the organization. So, apart from the environmental safety practitioners, what about other employees? The general employees, what is their responsibility to enhance an effective environmental safety program in an organization? Every worker shares a responsibility for the workplace safety. Every worker. The issue of environmental safety, the issue of environmental safety in the organization is a shared responsibility, and everybody has what? A role to play. And what are these things? Personal compliance. That's the first thing. Personal compliance. Now, when you follow all the safety rules that are laid down in the organization, the procedures, you know, the work instructions, when you use the required protective equipment properly, when you avoid shortcuts that will compromise safety, these are what? These are personal compliance. Yes, the organization might have set a standard, there are procedures, there are rules and everything, but you as the worker in that organization, you need your personal compliance. You need to comply with it. If they give you a personal protective equipment, you need to wear it. If they say that you should not work more than 8 hours in a day, you should comply. If they say that if you are operating a particular machine, you should not stand, you should sit, then you should comply with that. I visited an organization and somebody was operating a computer, was tapping, and the person stood up on the seat and was tapping. I was there for more than 30 minutes and the person was standing. These are things that, as simple as they are very, very important. You go to where they are carrying out welding and fabrication, and then you see them, they are doing it without wearing goggles to protect their eyes. These are things that you need to do, and these things are personal compliance. Another thing is hazard reporting. Okay, immediately you need to report unsafe conditions. If your equipment are having defects, you need to report it immediately. Okay, you don't necessarily need to wait until the supervisor goes. No, Immediately you see that defect in that machine, you need to what? Report it. All those environmental releases like hazards into the environment, you need to what? To report them. Potential hazards. All of these things, you need to report them to your supervisors. This is the responsibility of every employee. When you refuse to work, especially where there is danger, you are helping the organization. Okay? Once you sense that there is danger in the work environment, it is your responsibility to say that no, I won't work under this condition. This place is not safe for me. It is your responsibility. Then also, it is your responsibility to participate in these safety issues. If it is training, it is your responsibility to attend. If it's safety meetings, it is your responsibility to attend. If it is serving on safety committee, it is your responsibility to participate. If it is contributing suggestion for improvement, it is your responsibility. Participate as a staff. Be part of it. And then there is also what we call mutual responsibility. Looking out for your co-workers. Being your brother's keeper in your place of work. Intervening to prevent unsafe acts. Supporting a positive safety culture. When somebody is trying to do something that is wrong, you intervene. No, don't do this thing. It's going to harm you. It is your responsibility, and this is called mutual responsibility. Being your brother's keeper. Making sure that they don't fall in the pit. Competency maintenance is also another responsibility that each and every staff should be responsible for. Maintaining skills through training, through practice, asking questions when you are uncertain, help you to maintain your competence, notifying your supervisor where there are needs for training. There are some people that have been in the workplace for more than 10 years without a single training. This is not fair. When you know that there is need for training, inform your supervisor. When you come across a good course, like the courses by the Environment and Safety Management Institute, when you come across them, inform your supervisor. Tell your organization, write and tell them that there is this organization, Environment and Safety Management Institute, that is offering good courses. Send us to them. Let's go and learn. You are helping the organization. It is your responsibility to speak out. It's also your responsibility to care about the equipment that you are using. Okay, when you maintain your tools and equipment, when you put them in a safe condition, periodic inspection, reporting defect, it's good. Some of you work with organizations when the equipment are spoiling, you don't even tell your supervisor that this equipment that we have are getting damaged. No, you don't tell. It is wrong. It is your responsibility to maintain those equipment, because when those equipment begins to spoil, they are going to harm you too. And when they harm you, you will enjoy the pain. Nobody is going to share the pain with you. Somebody can tell you, yeah, sorry, I feel your pain, but it's a lie. They don't feel it. You are the only one that enjoys the pain. So you need to what? You need to maintain your equipment. And then another one is what we call environmental responsibility. Environmental responsibility. Things like waste segregation, preventing spills, or preventing release into the environment, conservation of resources, proper disposal of materials. These are what are environmental responsibilities, and it's the responsibility of all the workers. Now, contractor and visitor responsibilities. Okay, it is not only the senior management, the middle management, the safety professionals, and the workers that have responsibilities. There is what we call contractor safety management, and this is where the responsibility of the contractor or the visitor coming into the organization matters. Therefore, you will begin to understand that when it comes to environmental safety management, it is not only about the organization or the staff or the professionals, but it's about everybody. Because even the visitors in the organizations are involved. The contractors are involved. Organizations must extend their environmental safety management to their contractors and their visitors. Yes, they have to extend. One, your contractor selection is very, very important. You have to evaluate your contractor safety performance during selection. There needs to be evidence of the safety programs of your contractor so that you'll be able to understand their past performance. Is very, very important. So in your selecting your contractor, you must check their safety compliance. If they are not people that comply with safety regulations and safety standards, then don't bring them in because they will cause you harm. Then, issue of orientation. You have to provide site-specific safety orientation that cover the hazards, the emergency procedures, the work permit requirement, and the reporting procedures to both your visitors and your contractors. Where some of the sites that is difficult or difficult for your visitors, you have to sit with the visitors, create time, and give them an orientation before they visit. Now somebody will begin to ask, okay, so who are these visitors? What if we don't have visitors? Let me give you an example. If you are constructing, maybe your company is called Solar Group of Companies Nigeria Limited or Solar Group International, and maybe you are into construction of estates. So let's assume that Solar Group is now constructing estate in Dubai, and the government of the United Arab Emirates is going to send their ministers, their representatives to come and inspect the construction being done by Solar Group of companies. Those people coming to the site where Solar Group is carrying out the construction of the estate are visitors, even though they are government officials. Therefore, it is the responsibility of Solar Group now to make sure that they give them an orientation, give them personal protective equipment like helmets, like boots, that they will wear before entering into that construction site. That is the type of orientation I'm trying to talk about. Another thing is work planning. Okay, you have to review your contractor work plans for safety consideration, requiring the methods of work permits and other improvements that the contractor is doing. It's very, very important. This is also another responsibility that the contractor needs to do. They need to review the contractor work plans for safety consideration, requiring the method of statement and risk assessment, coordinating activities so that they will prevent conflict. And then there is also monitoring. Okay, monitoring. Observing the contractor work, conducting inspections, verifying compliance with safety requirements, and addressing deficiencies is also something that you have to look into. And then you also need to do an integration, okay, including the contractor's incident reporting systems, emergency drills, and safety meetings. Trying to investigate the contractor incidents thoroughly to make sure that you integrate everything that they are doing. And then visitor management. Okay, visitor management is very, very important. One, you have to establish your visitor sign-in procedures. So anytime a visitor is to come into that organization, there needs to be what? There needs to be a proper sign-in. You need to provide them with safety briefings. You need to issue them with the appropriate personal protective equipment. You need to assign them with escorts. Your visitors cannot just be moving in the organizations like that. they need an expert, they need somebody in the organization to be able to take them what? Round. This will help you a lot. It will help you avoid things like theft. It will help you also avoid things like slip and falls. Because the visitor is not conversant with the environment. Now, apart from these people that we have talked about, there is another group of people that you need in your organization that are very, very important. We call them the safety committee. Okay? Safety committee. So what should be the functions of this safety committee? Many organizations establish safety committees to promote the worker participation in safety activities. Okay? They establish this committee so that it will promote the worker participation in safety activities. Now, what should be the composition of this safety committee? Representatives from the various departments and the various organizational levels, including the management representatives and the frontline workers, should form the safety committee. This safety committee should have meetings, regular scheduled meetings, typically every month. Okay? So when they come, they should have a documented agenda, and the minutes of that meeting should be taken, so that when they meet the next time, they will know what they discussed previously and how they are going to move ahead. So the safety policy of the organization will be discussed by this committee, and it enhances participation at all levels of the organization. The functions that this safety committee needs to be doing is to review the incidents, the hazards, the reports. They conduct the workplace inspections that are needed. They recommend the programs that need improvements in the organization. They promote safety awareness. They monitor and implement corrective actions. Okay? When they are doing all these things, you see that participation in safety activities in the organization will be highly improved. Authority. You know, when we talk about authority, you recommend authority rather than decision make. You have what we call the recommendation authority rather than decision making authority with the management, because this recommendation authority should be responsible to the committee recommendations. Once the committee come out with a decision or with recommendations, these recommendations should be forwarded to such an authority that will take the decisions and implement it accordingly. So let's look at accountability and consequences, because effective programs in an organization must include an effective accountability mechanism. Okay, accountability mechanism. 1, performance expectations. You need to have a clear standard for all organizational levels. You incorporate it into the job, so that as you are giving out the job description, there is an expectation that should come out of that job description. And this is one of the things that you need in your performance evaluation. Another thing is recognition. Okay, you acknowledge and reward those staff that do excellent safety performance, those that come up with excellent safety innovations, those that come up with excellent safety leadership. You recognize them. This help a lot because it boosts their morale. Many people do good things expecting a reward, and this recognition should serve as a reward, so that it will boost their morale to continue to do the right thing. There should also be progressive discipline. Consistent application of disciplinary procedures for safety violations should not be taken for granted. Keep on issuing your disciplinary procedures for any time that somebody violates the safety procedures. So typical verbal warnings, written warnings, suspension, termination for repeated violations should be employed. You warn them verbally, you warn them by writing, you suspend them, you terminate. So immediately you start warning, the person will know that, oh, if I don't take time, it may lead to what? A query. This query may lead to a suspension. This suspension may lead to termination. So they will begin to pay attention to ensure that the safety activities that are put down in the organization, they are what? They are implemented. Then you also have to hold your leaders accountable. Leadership accountability is very, very important. When you hold managers accountable for the environmental safety performance in their areas through their performance review, it helps. When you bring in safety programs, career progression decisions, before you are promoted, we must ensure that this and this is achieved. Then you begin to see that people will move with enthusiasm to ensure that there is effective safety practice in their various departments. Another thing that is important is the issue of rights. Okay, rights. When we talk about rights and protection, workers possess fundamental rights when they support environmental safety programs. They have the right to know. It's their fundamental right. They have the right to what? To know. That is their first right. The right to know. The right to know entails access to information about the hazards that are in the work environment, the chemical dangers, the protective measures. So when you employ somebody, it is the right of the person to know the hazards that are involved in the work that he or she is to do. It is their right to know the dangers that are in that job. If you hide it from them, it is wrong. Another right that the workers have is the right to participate. They have to be involved in the safety committees, the hazard identification, the program deployment. It is their right. Another right is their right to refuse to work where it is not safe. Their right to refuse to work where it is not what? Safe. Now, authority has to stop work that present imminent danger to the workers. And if the authority fails to do that, it is the right of the staff or the employee to stop that work. It is their right. Because once that work presents danger to them, it is only he who is alive that can work. So it is their right to stop that work without any fear of retaliation. Okay? It is their right. It is also the right of the worker to be protected from retaliation. There are legal prohibitions against disciplining or discriminating against somebody who refuses to work because of the hazards, or who raises safety concerns, or who tries to exercise his or her safety rights. So these are things that must be taken into consideration. For more of these things, register with the Environment and Safety Management Institute and be trained as a professional in the field of environmental safety. You can visit our website on www.esmi.org.ng and get registered. Or you can chat us on WhatsApp using 08179716797, and you will be welcome on board at the Environment and Safety Management Institute. Thank you.